Emergency in the heartland. In Baltimore, and travelers seek shelter at the airport amid tornado threats as flash floods force rescues in Philadelphia and hundreds in the heartland evacuate. The Arkansas River rises to record levels, a major levee failing. This woman and her horse swim to safety. More than 1,000 homes flooded.
The startling new report of a mass purge in North Korea. Kim Jong-un ordering 5 of his top officials in charge of that failed U.S. summit with President Trump executed.
Overnight, President Trump escalates the border battle, threatening to slap tariffs on all goods from Mexico, a day after the largest group of migrants is apprehended.
New developments in that missing mom mystery. Last seen dropping her children at school a week ago. What police reportedly found in the home she was renting.
The unbelievable win overnight.
Champion spellers, we are now in uncharted territory.
8 kids walking away national spelling bee champs. The unprecedented ending, judges running out of words to challenge them. Now the Elite 8 who broke the bee join us right here on GMA.
And finals frenzy. Overnight, Toronto taking home their first NBA Finals win, shutting down the Golden State Warriors, with superfan Drake ruling the sidelines. The tense exchange going viral, and the message for Steph Curry on Drake's back.
Live in Times Square, this is Good Morning America.
Good morning, America. Big start for the Raptors. Is the Drake curse over? That is the question this morning.
Seems like it just might be. And what a night, by the way, at the Spelling Bee. 8 champions. We're going to hear from them coming up. They're all so excited. It's really sweet to see them be excited about sharing that title. Look at them. They're so cute.
Incredible finish.
It is awesome. So we have a lot of news to get to, though. That flooding danger stretching from the heartland all the way to the northeast. In Philadelphia, rescue crews saving stranded drivers caught in flash floods.
Yeah, and in the south, the Arkansas River hitting historic levels, forcing hundreds to evacuate. Take a live look at Fort Smith, Arkansas. That's supposed to be a park. It is now completely underwater this morning. Ginger is here with the very latest on all of this. Good morning, Ginger.
Good morning to you, Cecilia. Just hours ago, the Dardanelle levee on the Arkansas River breached. This is going to impact lots of American families, especially there through Missouri and even Oklahoma. This is the Keystone Dam where they're trying to let the water out, but they expect this one to break over the weekend because there's more rain on the way next week.
That's heading right down the 100 line.
Frightening skies, the leading edge of a severe storm creeping right past a Maryland school. Just one of more than 70 reported severe storms, mostly in the mid-Atlantic.
Yikes! That tree just fell.
This man just missing a tornado in Howard County, Maryland.
Look, all this just came down. Just missed the tornado.
Winds tearing down trees, hurling debris in Unionville, Virginia. Folks at BWI Airport forced to seek shelter when a tornado warning was issued, a shelf cloud moving ominously over the runway. In Philadelphia, flash flooding as up to 2 inches fell quickly. In Frederick County, Maryland, the damage crippling. Homes like this crushed by fallen trees. And this morning, the urgent evacuations underway as a levee along the Arkansas River breached. 15 to 20 inches of rain in the past 2 weeks, trapping people in their homes. The only way in and out? By boat. From northeastern Oklahoma to Missouri to Arkansas, where the governor flew over the inundated land. Dams like the Keystone forced to release, hoping to save towns downstream from the nightmare that Kenny Ward is living.
Everything is gone. The last 2 days, I filled up sandbags. These are my neighbors.
And unfortunately, so many more neighbors are going to have more rain. But let's focus in on those rivers that we have to watch for. So much red on the map, it's tough to focus. You've got the Mississippi, the Missouri, and the Arkansas, with dozens of rivers and towns watching for flooding, not just this weekend because of all the rain moving downstream, but by next week, Monday through Wednesday, especially the Arkansas River, looks like some areas could see another 4+ inches of rain. As if that wasn't enough, we've got severe storms in the forecast, which I will be telling you about, Amy, in just a bit.
Okay, no relief in sight, Ginger. Thank you. Overseas now to a startling new report about North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un claiming he ordered multiple officials to be executed after that failed high-stakes summit with the U.S. ABC's David Wright has all the latest. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Amy. Quite the disturbing report from a South Korean newspaper about that possible purge in North Korea. Despite all the smiles at the summit, the regime appears to be looking for scapegoats to blame for the failure to cut a deal in Hanoi. After the Hanoi summit abruptly ended without success,
sometimes you have to walk, and this was just one of those times.
Today's report says 1 month later, North Korea's lead negotiator was summarily executed, along with 4 other officials from the foreign ministry. The negotiator's name is Kim Hyok-chol. He and the others accused of spying for the U.S., now described in official news reports as turncoats, traitors, and counter-revolutionaries. That's the same language the regime used to describe Kim's uncle, half-brother, and nephew when they were killed off in an earlier purge. Meanwhile, Kim Jong-un's former right-hand man, Kim Yong-chol, who met with President Trump at the White House earlier this year, has reportedly been sent to a forced labor camp, along with the main North Korean translator for the summit. The South Korean report detailing all this is unconfirmed, and there's been no official comment, either from South Korea or from the State Department.
We've seen the reporting to which you're referring. We're doing our best to check it out.
Now, this South Korean newspaper has been wrong before, but clearly the North is looking to save face. All of this, a bit like reading the tea leaves, though, what actually happened, where things actually stand, very tough to read from a distance. But what the U.S. will be looking for, of course, is what this might mean for the negotiations moving forward.
Right, and we've seen those missile tests lately as well. Okay, David, thanks very much. We're going to go to the White House now, and President Trump's dramatic escalation in the battle over the border, announcing new tariffs on Mexico overnight unless Mexico takes action to stop migrants from crossing into the U.S. This comes a day after the largest group of migrants ever was apprehended. It's already rattling financial markets. Our chief White House correspondent, John Carl, tracking all the latest. Good morning, John.
Good morning, George. The president is calling this his biggest and most dramatic move yet to control the border. The president made the announcement via Twitter, saying that in little over a week, the U.S. would be imposing a, quote, 5% tariff on all goods coming into our country from Mexico until illegal migrants coming through Mexico and into our country stop. Later, the White House explained the punishing tariff will go up as time drags on, increasing 5% on the first day of each month until hitting 25% in October. Overnight, the reaction was swift. Republican Senator Chuck Grassley calling it, quote, a misuse of presidential tariff authority and counter to congressional intent. The White House explained for the tariffs to be removed, Mexico would have to step up its enforcement on its southern border, crack down on criminal smuggling organizations, and change how it handles asylum seekers. Mexico is one of America's biggest trading partners. The effect of these tariffs would be felt almost immediately by U.S. consumers, who would pay the brunt, most of the cost of these tariffs, as those costs are passed on to those buying Mexican goods here in the United States, George.
And John, one of the broader consequences, just hours before this all happened, the president told Capitol Hill he wanted them to pass this new U.S.-Mexico free trade agreement. That was already an uphill fight. This is going to make it tougher.
This would seem to put that at risk. It would seem to violate, at the very least, the spirit of that agreement, which is all about reducing tariffs with the United States, Mexico, and Canada. But the Chief of Staff, Mick Mulvaney, said last night that this is absolutely separate from any trade move, because this is about controlling the border. But, of course, tariffs are all about trade, George.
Yeah, not clear that that's how members of Congress are going to see it. John Carl, thanks very much.
George, we're going to stay in Washington. Attorney General William Barr giving his first interview since special counsel Robert Mueller's stunning statement on the Russia probe. Barr now seems to be at odds with President Trump, saying the investigators who launched the probe did not commit treason, as the president has repeatedly claimed. Our senior congressional correspondent Mary Bruce has the very latest from Capitol Hill. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Cecilia. Well, the Attorney General is investigating the origins of the Russia investigation, and he has said that he does think the U.S. government spied on the Trump campaign, but he is not willing to go as far as the president and call this treason. As a legal matter, Barr says the investigators did not commit treason, but he is criticizing their behavior, suggesting that they acted improperly, even though he has said that he's seen no evidence of wrongdoing. And when it comes to the special counsel counsel. Barr says that he does think Mueller could have reached a determination on the question of obstruction of justice, despite that longstanding Justice Department policy that they cannot indict a sitting president. Mueller, of course, instead punted here to Congress. Cecilia.
Yeah, a lot of daylight there, Mary. Speaker Nancy Pelosi was on Jimmy Kimmel last night talking impeachment. Let's take a listen.
I think the president wants us to impeach him.
You think he wants us to impeach him?
Well, he knows it's not a good idea to be impeached, but the silver lining for him is then he believes that he would be exonerated by the United States Senate.
So it seems like she's making it pretty clear impeachment not happening anytime soon.
Yes, Cecilia, the House Speaker is holding her ground here. Look, she is warning that despite these growing calls for Democrats to move to impeach, she says unless they can get Republicans over in the Senate on board, she's warning that it could backfire potentially politically on Democrats. It is why Pelosi continues to underscore that instead of rushing to impeachment, she says Democrats instead should be focused on building a compelling case against the president that she says has to be ironclad. Cecilia.
Mary Bruce, thank you very much. Amy?
Cecilia, now to new developments in the escalating battle over abortion. The last clinic in Missouri on the verge of closing today. And overnight in Louisiana, the Democratic governor signed the state's so-called heartbeat bill into law. Nearly a dozen states are now imposing new restrictions this year, including Georgia, which is also facing some backlash from major studios. ABC's Steve Osunsami has more from Atlanta. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning to you, Amy. Anti-abortion forces have been quite open about their plans here, which is to fight this issue state by state.
This morning, Missouri is close to losing its very last abortion clinic. State health officials here are refusing to renew the St. Louis clinic's license until doctors agree to interviews about what the governor is claiming to be a series of deficiencies. Demonstrators in Missouri are taking their anger to the St. Louis Arch and to state offices downtown.
Patient access is under attack. What do we do?
The fate of the clinic now lies in the hands of a federal judge who is still deciding whether or not to step in.
This is not an issue about the pro-life issue at all. This is about a standard of care for women in the state of Missouri.
If the court doesn't rule by the end of the day, the clinic will be forced to close for now.
We do not want to be the first state in the nation to lose access to safe, legal abortion, and that's what the state is trying to do.
Nearly a dozen states, including Louisiana, Ohio, and Georgia, have passed similar laws this year, all designed to meet up at the U.S. Supreme Court and challenge a woman's right to an abortion.
This morning, several major film and television studios are now threatening to no longer film their movies and TV shows here in Georgia because of the law that was passed here. That is potentially a major business decision. Some of the biggest movies in the world have been filmed here: The Avengers, Hunger Games. NBC Universal, CBS, Showtime, Warner Media, and Disney, the parent company of this network, are expressing serious concerns.
Yeah, it could have huge economic impact. Okay, Steve, thanks very much. We're going to switch gears now to that breathtaking finish at the National Spelling Bee. Not one champion, but 8, all tied with perfect scores after officials simply ran out of challenging words. Gio Benitez here with the details. Good morning, Gio.
Oh, I just love this story. Good morning, George. Good morning, everyone. No word was too difficult for these 8 champs. So for the first time in Spelling Bee history, the judges simply gave up, saying enough is enough, the biggest loss going to the dictionary.
The 92nd annual Scripps National Spelling Bee ending with not one.
Well, you are correct.
Not 2.
You are correct.
But a historic 8 winners after almost 4 hours of spelling.
Do you happen to know what time it is?
It's 11:18.
Oh, wow.
Much obliged.
Oh, God.
And a few heartbreaking losses.
Well, it was bound to happen sometime.
Thank you.
Officials declaring the finalists left after the 20th round would all share the title of champion.
Champion spellers, we are now in uncharted territory. We're throwing the dictionary at you. And so far, you are showing this dictionary who is boss.
The so-called Elite 8 completing an unprecedented 5 perfect rounds, 47 straight words spelled correctly. An emotional final round as each of the 8 found out one by one that they'd be going home a winner.
Each of you will be getting a Scripps Cup and, of course, the full $50,000 cash prize.
50 grand each. And these kids were very, very tired, but that didn't stop them. They were determined. You know, the spelling bee, it went way over schedule time. Nobody is complaining this morning.
I love how they were all rooting for each other at the end.
Isn't that amazing?
So
Such a great
Even
story.
the one who lost.
Yeah, it was really great. Great
Amazing.
story, and we're going to hear more from the winners coming up.
Really excited about that. Also excited about this. The first game of the NBA Finals played for the very first time ever outside the U.S. Toronto winning big, ouch, Warriors, beating the two-time defending champs, the Golden State Warriors, with the support of superfan Drake. TJ Holmes was right there in Toronto for it all. Hey, TJ.
Hey, good morning to you. And there were 25 years of built-up anticipation in this room last night, and you could feel it, and things certainly worked out in the Raptors' favor, thanks in part to a Raptors player who goes by the name of Spicy P. But to that superfan Drake, the Raptors superfan, well, he showed up to the game, would you believe, wearing a Curry jersey, but it wasn't in support of Steph. It was meant to get in his head.
This was the North's night.
Siakam running the floor, and he lays it in.
The Toronto Raptors took Game 1 of the NBA Finals, giving their fans, their city, even all of Canada, a long-awaited celebration.
The Raptors get the victory here in Game 1.
In their first ever NBA Finals game, the Raptors handled defending champs Golden State, despite Steph Curry's 34-point performance.
Steph Curry for three.
The Raptors countered with their own superstar, Kawhi Leonard, and Pascal Siakam, nicknamed Spicy P.
Pascal Siakam with a 32-point game.
The 25-year-old Cameroonian-born Siakam, who was discovered at a basketball camp in South Africa just 9 years ago, wowed with a playoff career-high 32 points.
It's amazing, man. Best fans in the NBA. You know, just at this moment, you know, we just want to continue to do what we do, and, you know, hopefully, you know, we'll get it done.
But Toronto's most famous supporter was once again front and center. Drake, whose sideline antics have drawn criticism, showed up wearing a throwback jersey of former Raptors player Del Curry. Yep, Steph's dad. Not only that, at one point in the game, Drake had to avoid a collision with a diving Andre Iguodala, later appeared to pick lint from Steph Curry's hair, and after the game, jawed with Draymond Green.
I didn't hit him and he didn't hit me, or I didn't push him and he didn't push me. We talked. We barked a little bit, but I wouldn't necessarily consider that a scuffle.
And get this, guys, I talked to Steph's dad, Del, after the game. He said that his son, Steph, actually asked for the Del Curry jersey, and he got him one, but wasn't able to get it to Steph in time. So Drake and Steph had the same idea to wear a Del Curry jersey to the game for different reasons, but they almost showed up as twinsies. And I know I hate when George and I show up to work wearing the same thing, so that could have been a disaster last night. But it was really fun here in Toronto. They've been waiting for this big night, and it worked out really well for them. So
TJ,
you have to
if
say
that happened, which
congratulations.
one of
It was
us would
a special night
change?
for 'em.
Oh, I know the answer to that.
Well, George, you're sitting at the desk. I'm in Toronto. I think we know.
Okay, TJ, thanks very much. Following a lot of other headlines this morning, including new developments in that missing mom case, we have new reports about what authorities found in the home she was renting.
Also this morning, the military pilots who say they've seen UFOs speaking out on camera for the very first time. But first, let's go back over to Ginger.
Yes, and I want to show you these images out of Grand Canyon, Arizona. That is hail covering the ground. So the storms start out in the southwest, they move over the Rockies, and those are the ones we've just been seeing torturing so many folks. And will today, damaging wind possible from Green Bay, say through Muskegon, Michigan, look at down in parts of Virginia into North Carolina and even clipping South Carolina for damaging wind, the main threat. Your local weather in 30 seconds. First, though, the weekend getaway, sponsored by Amazon Echo.
Look, Grandpa, I got you the Echo Show. You can ask it to play music or check the weather. Valerie, Valerie. Alexa, at 6 p.m., remind Grandpa your favorite dessert's in the fridge.
Okay, I'll set a reminder.
Valerie.
Alexa, play the song that goes Valerie.
Well, sometimes I go out by myself and I look across the water.
Less humidity, less heat on this Friday, and only a slight chance to see some showers and storms, mainly south of D.C. You got 83 coming your way at 4 o'clock with those temperatures in the 70s early morning. It's going to feel pretty nice. Here's a look at where some of those storms could be firing later today, south of 66 and south of 50 around 5, 6, 7, maybe even as late as 9 o'clock. And then a better chance to see some afternoon showers and storms Sunday during the evening hours. 83 your high on Sunday, 86 for Saturday.
Look at Central Park. Everyone getting ready for Sierra's coming up live in just a little bit.
Well, it finally happened, Zachary. Somebody burned down my she shed.
Nobody burned down your she shed, Cheryl.
Well, my she shed's on fire.
Your she shed was struck by lightning.
Zachary, is my she shed covered by State Farm?
Your she shed's covered, Cheryl.
You hear that, Victor? I'm getting a new she shed.